Hello, and welcome to What's Your Story? We have a fascinating guest today. Her name is Chellie Phillips, and she's an interesting lady. She's a sweet tea sipping, sassy Southerner who is on a mission to build people centered cultures in today's workplace so both employees and businesses thrive and succeed. She's also a coach, a corporate trainer, and motivational speaker, as well as an international best-selling author of 3 books. And we're going to ask her to tell us about those books right now. Welcome, Chellie.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, we're so excited that you're here. Tell us about your books.
Yeah, so the latest one is Culture Secrets, and it's secrets leaders can use to build what I call a value culture. And if you look at the book, you'll see that value has periods between each letters because that is an acronym. And I think culture comes from having a vision, having accountability, having leadership, celebrating the uniqueness of the people that are part of your organization, and the engagement that you get when you create that culture so that everybody feels like they're part of the success of the organization. So that was the latest book. It was so much fun to write because I got to interview so many leading people in the industry. And what I really found fascinating is that they were so willing to share not only what worked for them, but also their failures along the ways. Because I think we learn a lot from what people try and it doesn't work so that
Oh,
we don't have to make
definitely.
those same mistakes. And so, everything from global automotive manufacturing to hospitality industry to nonprofit. So the book has a little bit of something for everybody in there, whether you're coming at it from an entrepreneur or from a CEO sitting in a corner office somewhere. So that one was a lot of fun. My very first one was called When in Doubt, Delete It. And I call that one more of a personal success book kind of thing because what I did that came from years of blogging, and it was also when I finally realized that no matter what one person thinks about you or how they make you feel about your value inside an organization, that you are the one that actually controls how you react to that and what you do with that, and whether you stay with that organization or whether you take a chance and move on. And so I have a background as a journalist. And so this book is built around what I call 5 edits. So if you've ever written a paper in college or in high school and you get it back and it looks like teacher bled all over it because they were making all these little notes on the side about everything that was wrong with it, all those edit marks that you get back. So for me, the book is in 5 buckets, and it's things that you can begin, which is the paragraph mark. There's things that you can delete. There's things that you can insert. There's things that you can move forward or backwards or away from or towards. And then there's the one that I love the most. And that's something when an editor changes your work up, they go through it and they say, no, this needs to be like this. But then actually, after they read through the whole thing, they go, oh, now I see your vision and what you were doing. It was actually right the way you had it. And they'll write STET, STET, across that. And so that part of the book is about remaining authentic to yourself because sometimes we have to make the choice that this is what I know I need to be doing. And not everybody's going to see that with us. And so we're able to step into that, live it, and live it to our fullest.
Wow, that sounds like a great book. I want to see it. Did you talk about the third one, Get Hired?
Get noticed, get hired. So that one is for young professionals coming into the workplace. So how do you build your brand online, like on LinkedIn? How do you set up your profile for success to attract recruiters and opportunities? And then how do you set yourself up for the next opportunities out there? How do you show up once you're hired so that you continue to be looked at as a high performer? And then how do you do the basic things? How do I do interviews well? How do I handle behavior based questions? How do I do my resume and cover letters? Because in today's the way that we do interviews is so much different than it was when I first came through the system. You know, now we have AI, now we have computer screening applications, and it can be 2 or 3 rounds before a human being actually sees your cover letter and your resume. And so, how do I beat those screening things? How do I make sure that I am getting seen by the person that can actually make the decision? And so, that was written because I used to work on a college campus with sorority women. And so I spent 14 years as an advisor on campus, and I was lucky enough to have 200 women come through to be able to mentor every semester on campus. And what I would see is when they would graduate, some of them, if they did not receive a job offer in their particular field when they walked across the stage and got their diploma, if they had to take what I call get by jobs, whether
Mm.
that was office work, whether it was retail, barista, any kind of thing like that, when they did get an offer, they were coming in five to $8,000 less than their counterpart who had no work experience whatsoever because their work experience wasn't in their field and somehow working outside of their field had dumbed down their education. And so this book was really kind of a passion project because of all those women that I had mentored over the years throughout my time working with college women is how can you set yourself up for success and how can you use that experience to show that no, I have the degree, but I also have these actual real workplace skills. I know
Mhm.
how to get along with people. I know how to interact with customers. I know how to be accountable. I know how to show up and be dependable day in and day out. These are things that can really set you apart inside the interview if you just position it correctly.
Most definitely, most definitely. I think these are books that all young people should definitely have, right? Especially coming out of college or going into the workplace for the first time. I'd like to read them myself. They sound wonderful. Now, you've developed award winning employee engagement programs, which have received all kinds of national recognition. Do you want to tell us about those?
Yeah, absolutely. They're based around that value formula that I was talking about in building culture. And so the key to strong cultures in the workplace is really making sure that you have everybody involved in that creation. You can't decide sitting in an office by yourself that our culture is going to be this and expect everybody to get behind it because that's one person's vision. And now you may be the founder of the company or you may be the head of that company, but you can't accomplish the success that you want to receive on your own. The way you make it stronger, faster, better, more financially sound, have great more customer experiences, you have referrals, all that kind of stuff is by getting that workforce involved and helping them see the vision that you're trying to create and then asking how can they help you get there in a way that actually utilizes their talents and skills to the best of their ability so that you're getting the best out of your hires as well. So the way the program is set up is like, and when I usually do them in small settings, 15 to 25 people, and it's going to be emerging leaders inside the organization, or maybe it's part of your key staff, different things like that. But we'll actually talk about vision and values and how do we, they're two different things. Vision is very future looking. It's about what is the ultimate goal? What are we really wanting to be known for? And what kind of impact that we want to make? Our values are the things that we want to be known for, whether it's dependability, honesty, transparency, any of the being community minded, any of those kind of things can be values. And so what happens is when you identify your vision, you can identify the values that part of that vision. But those values give you the pieces where you set behaviors. And then behaviors give you that accountability piece because each person and each team is going to show transparency in a different way. But you're all showing transparency. And then if I have those, I have a set of standards that I can hold everybody that they've agreed to. This is what matters to us, and this is how we're going to show it as part of our team. So when you have your evaluations and when you're doing your hiring, you have a metrics that you can really ask about and get people in line from the very beginning on how they're going to live those values and how it's going to show up every day in your workplace. And then the other piece of that is leadership because you have to have strong leaders to help drive that culture. And they have to be willing to walk the walk and talk the talk. They have to be willing to show up every day. You can't say that honesty matters to me and then you're off somewhere, embezzling money from the company because people are going to be like, you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. I don't believe anything that you say. And that's an extreme example. But even small things make a difference. Do I say that I'm people minded and I never come out of my office and interact with anybody? Do I tell someone happy birthday or good morning in the hall? Or do I even know that they're having an issue at home with a parent or a child and that they might need a little extra grace during the day because it's been a hard morning for them and that kind of thing? And so when we do that, that's showing that leadership, that's setting us up to be that brand leader for us inside our organization, and that people can actually get behind you and say, they're not asking me to do something that they're not willing to do themselves. And when you have those values that we were talking about, you have those behaviors which lead to that accountability, you've got a leader driving it. That leader then has that team of people that are all right there for them And so that's when it's up to you to see what makes my team unique, because
Mhm.
we all show up every day with all of our life experiences, our expectations, our different skills, the things that we like, the things that we don't like, the things that we enjoy doing day in and day out, and the things that we don't. And so when I can actually set your course as an employee that allows you to excel in the areas that you are really doing, we're both going to thrive and we're both going to succeed. And if I know what matters to you, then I can also do little things as far as recognition that are really going to stand out and set apart. And it's like makes you feel, oh, they know who I am. They know what matters. So, one of the things I do with my team is I do what's called a Monday morning check in. And on that Monday morning check-in, the very last question on there is, "Tell me something you did for yourself this week. How did you do something to celebrate yourself this week?" So I've learned people concerts that they like to go to. Some people got manis and petties. Some people love certain restaurants that they've been with their husband. So when I do recognition, I have all that filed away, and I can go back through and I go, "Oh, they love Italian. Let me get them a nice gift card at an Italian restaurant." And then it's very personal recognition. It's something that matters to them. It's something that they enjoy. And it makes that recognition that much more special and that much more um, impactful, and shows them that I do value them and I do see who they are as a team. And then the engagement is what you get. You bring these people together. They're able to all be on the same page, heading out into the workforce going, we all see it now. We know what we're trying to do. And we're going to be able to spread that message to other people, whether they're on our teams now or whether I'm leading that team later down the year. We're setting that foundation for those leaders to be able to continue these things once they've gone through those programs.
Mm. Sounds wonderful. I want to come work for you.
I would take you in a heartbeat, Judy.
Why do culture builders need strong personal brands?
Because I think it goes back to what I was saying just a minute ago, is that you have to be seen for what you say matters to you. I
Mm.
can't build a brand, like for me, it's all about being a people builder. It's all about building cultures. So I can't be seen when I show up online or when I show up in person and I'm off in the corner by myself. I'm only engaging with the one person that I came with. I don't want to learn anything about you. I don't care about your business or what's going on. Or even worse, maybe you see a profile where I'm posting hate or different things like that. I can't be a culture builder if that's how I show up in other places unless I'm at the office, because we are the whole of what we're seen as. And your personal brand goes past, everybody thinks social media, but it goes past that. It goes with our personal interactions with each other as well. How do I engage with you in the break room? How do I engage with you in a meeting? Do I make you feel heard? Do I make you feel respected? Do I give you equal time to be able to share your ideas? Do I encourage you? And so it's very important as that leader of the organization. And I think the higher you go in the organization, it's even more important that your personal brand shows up and reflects those same values and those same behaviors that you're asking your employee base to
Mm.
actually exhibit day to day when they're there. Because no one wants to work for someone that they don't feel is in in ingrained in it as much as they are. They want that person that is going to be their leader to be someone that they're okay with looking up to and following the direction that they have there. And so, building that personal brand, taking the time to actually be consistent about it and to have put some thought into it, like I need to show up this way and I need for people to actually see me do
Mhm.
this and realize how important a part, because we are such a visual media based world now, whether it's on social media, whether it's in when I'm doing public speaking, or whether it's I'm engaging with small groups of employees in the office. We're being judged on how we come across as the leaders of those organizations, and we have to be very intentional about that brand that we put out there, because that brand then not only reflects with our employees, it's going to also inflect with our customer base. And that's going to drive referrals. That's going to give your reviews online, which is going to do new people find me, or like, are people going to show up? How are they talking about it? And it's also going to be about the expectations that you're setting. So if your customers see that your employees feel this way about you, they're not going to want employee interaction that's any different than what they're getting from you. And so then your employees see that, and that adds to that level of accountability and everything else. So one thing just really builds on the other, but it's very vital, I think, that the leader of that organization, the leader of teams, even the leader in your house, because culture is something that you can take outside of the office and build into your daily life as well. It's very important that, basically I say is we walk the walk and talk the talk, that we're actually living what we say matters to us.
Exactly, exactly. You tell your clients sometimes that no one is going to pay you what you're worth, only what they think you're worth. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that's one of those things that I learned really early on when dealing with the sorority women that I was talking about, how their perception, if they came in, I've been a barista for a year and a half while I've been looking for a job, somehow dumbs down my MBA that I had in accounting over here because I couldn't find anything in that field for a while. No, my education is still there. I still have the same skills and everything else. And so, but the perception that that person has of you at that point in time is that, oh, well, you must not have done really well in accounting, or you would have found that job right off. Maybe there were some other extenuating circumstances and you couldn't at that point in time, or maybe there was family situations, whatever it is. There's a lot of things that can happen that keep people from actually moving into those fields. The next encounter I had with that is really coming from once I began doing a lot of interviewing and hiring on my own in the corporate world. How someone showed up on a piece of paper is sometimes a lot different than how they show up in an interview.
Mhm.
And so, my perception of what they were worth when I offered them the interview could change drastically when I actually met them face to face and had a conversation with them about, no, this is not the kind of person I want representing me. They're not actually able to do the things that I thought they were going to do. And then the other piece of that is it can even cost you the opportunity to get that interview if your online brand and your online presence and different things like that don't coincide or don't correlate with what you're putting out on your resumes, your cover letters, or once you're in that office in that interview situation. I've seen a lot of people actually go for the interview and they had a probably good chance of getting it. And then when they did a Google search on them or whatever else, they found a lot of information that they wished was not out there, that they're like made people reconsider, oh, I don't know if this is a person we want to take a chance on or not. So a lot of my younger professional clients that I work with, it's on cleaning up their brands and getting them ready to actually go out in there, because you want to be able to say, this is the value that I bring to your organization. This is why you want me sitting in that office, that cubicle next to this other team member, because this is what I'm going to be able to do and help you increase the profitability, the success of your organization by this. And when I can do that, then I can shift what they're willing to offer me as that starting salary and come in at a higher price point. And then that also means that every raise that I get is going to be that much more going forward because I'm continuing to prove that value and that worth over time.
Mhm. Mhm. Makes sense to me, doesn't it? Now, you have a secret. You said, what if I told you you could invest in one piece of business and outshine your competition by 200%? Now, I want to know that secret. So please share.
That's one of the most questions I get asked all the time when I do presentations and stuff is, what do you mean by that? And, it's very simple. If I am in a firm and I come in and I tell our board that I need a budget of $2 million because we need new equipment, we need new software, we need new whatever new technology is out there to be able to do XYZ, increase production, all this kind of stuff. A lot of the time, boards don't even think twice about it. They go, well, that sounds actually fine to me. If I come in and tell you that you need to invest money in building your culture and your employees, a lot of people look at me and go, "Hey, that's just fluff. That's not even really important. How do you can't measure culture? Is that swag? Is it t-shirts? Is it pizza party? Is it what is it exactly is this culture thing that we're talking about?" To
Mhm.
me, culture is the heart and guts of an organization. It's what gets things done. It's what fueling the passion behind the things that are happening inside that organization. So, if you want to get more profitable, if you want to outshine your competition, the people that you invest in are your people. It's not the equipment, it's not the software. Yes, some of that you need to do that along the way. But if you don't have the core right, which are the people that are doing the job for you, that are representing you, that are showing up day and day, that are doing the skills, that are doing the processes, you're never going to outshine that competition. It doesn't matter how many new trucks or how many new widgets or how many new software programs that you put in there, because the problem is still going to be the same. So when you invest in your people, when you train them, when you make them feel valued, part of that, they're not going to be leaving you. You're not going to have turnover. You're not going to have to do retraining and rehiring and start from scratch in a lot of positions. You're going to be able to build on that foundation. Our people are our biggest assets inside our organization. And that is where you get that 200% return on your profitability and being able to outshine your competition.
That's wonderful. You know, it's amazing to me how many companies I've worked with over the years that they don't really see their employees as being their their golden key. You know, their that's how they're going to make their money. That employees are going to keep people coming back. When I was in South Africa, I worked for a man at one of the newspapers there, the Sowetan newspaper, and the predominant number of people that worked there were Black or of Indian descent. So there were only a couple of us that were white, and I was the only American. And it was interesting to me that this man that was the general manager there spoke all 11 languages of the people that worked for him. And I said to him one day, why is it that you're able to speak all 11 languages? He said, well, I made the effort to learn because it wouldn't be fair to some of my people if I could communicate with them and others if I couldn't. So I have to be able to communicate with everyone. I was in shock. Coming from America, I had never, ever heard someone in a leadership position say, it's my responsibility to learn to speak their language instead of it's their responsibility to learn our language. I was just amazed by this man, fascinated by him. You know, he was incredible. It was just
That is a true culture builder. I mean, that is someone who's taking it to heart and valuing everyone who shows up where they show up from. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better example than that as to why that works and how that makes someone feel that they matter to someone because they're learning how to engage with me in a way that I can understand effectively and not have to struggle to figure out what it is that you want from me or how I can better improve what I'm doing along the way.
oh, I've seen so many examples of poor leadership over the years of being a speaker out there in the workplace. In 29 countries, that every now and then I find someone who's like that man and I'm just like blown away. I just want to interview them. I want to find out everything I can about them because we do really, really need leaders in the world today, especially with all the issues and problems that we have. Um, you have three best selling books that cover personal success, young professional growth, and corporate culture. Uh, but there's a story behind this, and I really want to know how that bad boss and a box of Fruit Loops opens the door to this path and this opportunity.
So I had worked for a company for over 20 years and I had basically grown up there. I came from newspaper into corporate public relations. And so I went from storytelling about individuals and what was happening in town into creating stories about the company that I worked for. And came in under a great boss. He was very people minded. And after about 20 years, he got ready to retire. And the next person that came in line came from a financial background, CFO kind of position, and was not a people person at all. And so it was like overnight, I went from having a seat at the table, the ear of the CEO, being able to talk through things, having impact on decisions that we're making, to working with a boss that basically thought that what we were doing was not important because it didn't add enough to the bottom line. And so I rocked on for a few months and it became more and more apparent that what I was doing was not valued by him. And I mean, to the point where I would pull up in the parking lot during some days and like you would feel that knot in your stomach, like, okay, psych yourself up. You can do this. You've been here 20 years. You're vested in all the programs. You've grown up with all these people. You know who their kids are. You've seen them get married. You've seen them get divorced. You had, all this kind of stuff. You've built this whole family here. You can do this for a couple more years and stay till you're ready to retire and everything else. And so part of what we did is we put together a magazine, and every magazine had a column from the CEO in it, like a personal kind of column. Well, my old CEO and I used to sit down and we would work through it. Like, what do you want to talk about? What kind of themes do you want? Tell me some stories that I can weave into it and whatever. So, my new CEO would be like, oh, well, just make it up. That's what you writers do, or that's what you storytellers just make
Nice.
something
Yeah.
up. And I'm like, "Well, that's great. I can make up a lot of stuff, but it's not true. It's not about you. It's not reflection of what you are." And so one day he'd sent me an email about, write a column about my granddad. Well, I don't know who your granddad is. I don't know his name. I don't know why you care. Like, what's the tie-in to work and all that kind of stuff. And so we went round and round and round about that. And I remember going home that night and I had such a headache. I had migraines and I had never had migraines before. And it was from all the stress at work and everything and going through that. And then a few months later, rocked on, so about 7 months total, rocked on as him as manager and me trying to decide, do I keep putting up with this? Do I do something? And so, like I said, we had a magazine that went out, and our demographics for our consumer base at that time was really people between 35 and 65. And so the magazine was geared for an audience that would see that interest in the articles in
Mhm.
there and everything. And so I had sent him the proof copy and was waiting for him to sign off on it and everything. And I get this email back that says, my daughter hates this. Why are you so lazy? What kind of skills do you have? Do they come from a box of Fruit Loops? Well, his
Whoa.
daughter was 17. So, okay, if she loved the magazine, I'd be worried because that's not who we're selling our products to and everything. And so that night, I was actually at an after work event. We were doing kind of an expo trade show kind of thing. And I'm very transparent. That's one of the things I think about being good and Southern and sassy, like we're talking about. You can look on my face and tell how I feel about something when you talk about it. And I was there and I was reading the email. And everybody that was around me at that point in time knew something was wrong. In fact, somebody said, "Is everything okay at home? Do you need to leave?" Because it was just like that instant, like, I don't know how to handle this. And of course, my first guess reaction is to text back this or type out this message because it was BlackBerry at the time on what I was thinking and what I was sending. And then that's where the title from the book came from. When in doubt, delete it, because I ended up deleting the whole email and not sending it, because if I'd sent it, I'd have probably been fired Monday morning when we got back to work. And anyway, so that whole thing just sat with me the whole time about that. That's what he thinks of me, is that my skills came from a box of Fruit Loops. And the more I thought about it over the weekend, it actually became this really powerful thing for me, because when I was growing up, my brother and I used to fight over the box of cereal, because when I was growing up, there used to be little prizes inside the
Yes.
cereal box, whether they were little stickers or whether they were little figurines or whatever they were. And so whoever got the cereal box first would sit there and dig and dig and dig until they could get the prize out of sight of it. And I said, you know what? My skills did come from a cereal box. I am as valuable as that prize inside that cereal box. But it's up to me to be able to control how I think about how people feel about me. You don't get to decide whether I'm valuable or not. I am infused with my creator's gifts with what I do, and I have all the skills, the education, and the experience behind it. I have a bookcase full of awards that said the industry says I know what I'm doing. And you don't get to sit in your desk just because you don't think it matters or that your daughter doesn't agree with what we're doing and say that I don't have value and I don't have a place here. And so it was really that email that turned it around and said, okay, so at that point in time, I decided I need to look for another opportunity. And I am so glad I did. It opened up the door to opportunities. The books came after that, the corporate training, the development of programs, being able to impact so many other organizations and things like that, all because, of that one nasty little email, that one person that couldn't see what was right there in front of them. And I'm so glad now. I tell everybody I should really send them a thank you note and say, thank you for being the best, worst boss ever. Because had it not been for that kick in the pants and making me just really think, there's no need for me to waste my time here anymore, that I don't know that I would have had the courage to step out and look for that new opportunity yet, because everything was so, I had been there for 20 years. I knew the system. I knew what had to be done, like, can I, like, and just suck it up. And so I tell everybody that sometimes the worst thing that can happen to you can be the best thing that can happen to you. You just have to look for, how do I twist it around, and how do I turn that bad experience into my very next opportunity and see what door it's going to open.
That's wonderful, and so good that you had the self-esteem to realize that this other person's opinion of you is not to be your opinion of you. It's I've had some bad bosses in my day. And it's interesting because, as you know, I was a journalist for a while and worked in the newspaper business for years and years. And as I was listening to you, I could see all these people that I had experienced that did those exact kind of things. But it's not just the newspaper industry. Here in Las Vegas, one of the things I find happens very often is that the person who is the finance person, whenever the main boss moves on, they always seem to promote the finance person up to that position. And those people usually don't have people skills. And I find it interesting that they think just because this person helps the company make money, they can run the whole deal, because it's not true. And I'm hearing that from you, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is rampant here in our city. It's amazing.
I you know,
Absolutely.
I think a lot of boards are, they're used to hearing from certain people, and they're used to hearing certain, reports every time and all that kind of stuff, and they're so removed from what happens day to day in the workplace that they
Mhm.
don't really know how that person is, relating to the people that are getting the work done. And I tell people a lot of times, you can be a great CFO, you can be a great COO, you can be a great vice president, you can be all those kind of things and still suck at being a leader,
Yeah.
because a leader is not a title that you just get given. Leader is about the actions that you take and everything, and unfortunately we don't teach how to be a leader in business school very often.
No.
A lot of it is, it's either what I've learned over life, or it's people that I've had great mentors in my life that have showed me how to be a people developer and things like that. But that's kind of a fail to me for the educational system, and for, like, even young professionals out there. It's so important that I think that you find those mentors that not only are going to teach you the skill that you need, but also the soft skills that you need on, how do I deal with teams effectively? How do I deal with the emotions that show up in the workplace? How do I get people to respond and move in the direction that I want to be? Because leadership is really a verb. It's all about the actions that we take. It is not a title that you get put on there. It's not that noun that people automatically assume that it is. To me, it's all about stepping out and being that person that's willing to actually, like I said, live what we're saying matters to us, and show up every day in that way. And then people will naturally gravitate and follow you, because they believe in what you're putting out there, and they believe that you're going to take care of them along the way.
That is so true. That's so very true. I hate it that our time is coming to an end. I feel like it just flew by all of this sudden. I really want to thank you for being here, but I want to ask you, is there anything I didn't ask you today that you want to share with people? Is there something I missed that you feel you've just got to tell people because it's important?
Yeah, the one thing I would say is, investing in your culture, investing in your people is just so critical and so important, that I really hope that they take away from this conversation, that that should be something that's on their budget every year. Like, how are we going to grow our people and how are we going to keep the great ones that we have there? And, whether it's me or whether it's other people that do this kind of thing, there's all kinds of training that you can have. And when you get people from different levels involved, when they feel like they have buy in and when they feel like they have some sort of, oh, I see a piece of me in how this company is moving forward, or the vision that we have, or the values that we're living, then it becomes personal to them. And then that's when businesses really become successful, when your employee base feels a personal attachment and a personal reason to be there, and that they feel like they have some actual effect or impact on that bottom line, that they're actually causing it to move towards that successful vision of what we're going to be in the future. Then you're going to exceed all the expectations that you have and outshine that competition like we were talking about earlier.
Thank you. That is so, so very true. I so believe in what you're doing and in all of your philosophies. I thank you so much for being my guest here today. You're absolutely amazing. And so I hope you'll come back with us again sometime soon.
I would absolutely love to do that. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for being with us today. We so appreciate you sharing our time on What's Your Story. And if you have a story that you would like to share, please contact me here at WWDBTV in Las Vegas. Thank you.